Hello, everyone, and welcome to our January Hope session, Self-Unification and Self-Acceptance, A Bridge to Peace. I am Heidi Parker. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Community Initiative Manager here at UCLA Arts and Healing, and I am your Zoom host today. So this program is presented as part of our free Hope series, Healing Online for People Everywhere, which we created to support the resilience of our global community through social emotional arts. Each workshop offers a supportive space for connection, healing, empowerment as we navigate the changes in our world. We're grateful you are all here today to create and learn together and grow together as a community. So today's program is in a meeting format. Please keep yourself muted until prompted otherwise. We are recording today's session to be shared on our YouTube channel, and you are welcome to leave your camera on as you feel comfortable. We'd love for you to actively participate. You are also invited to use the reactions feature to support each other when sharing. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Tongva Nation, on whose land the city of Los Angeles, where we are based, rests today. We hold respect and gratitude for the Tongva people who still consider themselves the caretakers of this land. And by their example, we are reminded of our responsibility to our planet and one another. Let's take a moment in our own way to honor the Indigenous communities of past and present on whose land you are joining from today. I'd like to welcome today's presenter, Stacey Amon-Yeldell. She is an award-winning vocalist, speaker, and a music psychotherapist with over 15 years of experience in mental health treatment. As the founder of Mantra, a consulting company based in California, she has facilitated a range of therapeutic mindfulness practices for individuals and organizations, including the Grammy Foundation, the Riveter, Google Arts and Culture, and Young Arts. She holds a master's degree in music therapy from New York University, in addition to certifications in sound and music healing from the Open Center and Vocal Psychotherapy. Stacey, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Heidi, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be having a very lively and interactive workshop this morning or this afternoon now, depending upon where you are. And I thought before we even get into it, we'll just start off with some music. I am a music therapist by trade, artist, musician by nature, and I just believe so deeply in beginning processes with sound. So just take a breath. And this is going to be an interactive song, so I'm going to ask you all to just begin to drop in the chat maybe 1-2 things that you would like to plant. This is almost like setting an intention. So what are you creating? Just to add a little bit more spice, we're on the eve of a new moon, for those of you all who are into astrology. And Mercury just went direct on Wednesday, and so we've kind of had a slowish January, a lot of rain in California. So personally, I'm feeling a bit of like this is the real January 1st coming up. It feels like some energy kind of in my wings. So with that said, we're going to start this little tune. So I'll start it with a hook that I'll just repeat. And then I'll start to weave in some of the things that you all are dropping in. I may have to pause so I can bring it back again, but I'll just start here. So this is also a bit of a call and response. I forgot to tell you that part. So on your side, you can repeat each line back to me or to yourself. You'll be muted, so it'll be all good. Or you could just let it wash over you. You could just be in that place of receptivity, letting yourself receive. So we'll start here. We'll start with, see my garden grow. And then you would sing, see my garden grow. I feel the earth beneath my feet. And my heart is flying free. sing it your own way. I feel the earth beneath my feet. And my heart is flying free. Yeah. And life is good. And life is good. Here we go. I am planting seeds of rest and joy. I am planting seeds of strength and allowing. I am planting seeds of the sun, of courage and curiosity, and creativity stars. Let me scroll down. What else we got? I'm planting seeds of balance, of healing and safety, love and peace and connection. I am planting seeds of healing. I am walking barefoot in my beautiful garden. Yeah. All right, y'all, last chorus, here we go. See my garden grow. See my garden grow. That's your turn. The earth beneath my feet. Feel the earth beneath my feet. And my heart is flying free. And life is good. And all is well. And life is good. Take a breath. Breathe in all those beautiful seeds and intentions you said. See it done. Feel it done. Another breath. Beautiful. Give yourselves a hand. Yay! What a great way to start. Yes, yes, yes. So you could probably already tell that we are starting this session from a place of wholeness. And the reason why I say that is because we live in a society that really encourages us to add things, right? And to consume in order to feel good. So the way we're taking this workshop is from a different approach. We're going to just assume and acknowledge that there is good already within us, that there is peace already within us, that we are that thing itself already, right? And that our jobs is just to remove the belief systems, the ideas, the static and the electricity that we've accumulated throughout the ages, both individually and in the collective, that basically obscure our perception of the good and the peace that's already within us. So that's a different thing, right? It's very, very different than what we sometimes get from society about adding. But we also acknowledge that those seeds that we planted today, that sometimes it's a little bit more challenging, right? To see the manifestations, if you want to use that word, or to see the realization or the actualization of the things that we're wanting to create. And oftentimes I like to use the garden metaphor, because the garden metaphor in many ways is like, okay, if I'm planting these new seeds, everything we just said, balance, healing, safety, love, and peace, but I still got weeds in the garden, right? Then those weeds threaten to strangle that which I'm seeking to create that's new and that's fresh and that's vibrant. So what I would love for us to do today during this time is to really just lovingly and self-compassionately, begin to clear away whatever the words or whatever those weeds are, right? That might be threatening to take out our new crop, right? To inhibit our new harvest. So that's where our goal is. We're not going to do it all at once, but you're going to get a handout. You're going to get some extra added resources from me after this, just so that we can continue the process. So just look at this as pretty much a seed that we're planting, right? In order to create this new way of being, but not adding anything to ourselves, right? But simply clearing out that which is strangling and threatening to strangle. So that's our goal. That's our purpose for today. I just wanted to lay that out there. Thank you, Ellie. See my garden grow. Yes. Oh, thank you, Jackie. Yeah, I'll leave a link for some music that I have out. I haven't recorded anything in a while. I have to give you a heads up on that because I've been writing a book, which I'll tell you about at the end. So, but yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I love being able to do this because I can always kind of hear you all. I just have this image of you all singing on the other side, even though you're muted. So it's fun. And by the way, I like to call those vocal activations because even if we're not singers, the point is not being a singer, right? It's like the voice is many ways of how we can begin to make that statement, that affirmation. To me, vocalizing is a way of saying I am here, right? So it's our birthright to vocalize. And that's why I always start with something vocal. So, okay. All right, so that was my stream of consciousness. I wanted to do a bit of an intro, and I think we can do it actually because we only have 39 people, so we could do a quick one. And so the way I love to do this is we basically just introduce yourself in a creative way. You can, and it's all optional, and we'll just mirror it back to you. Or whatever way you introduce yourself, then we'll mirror that. So let's see. Do we have the next slide, Heidi? I don't remember what's on slide 3. Oh, there we go. Great.
It's up, Stacey.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. And everybody give Heidi a hand. It's so good to have somebody like a wing person, because then I don't have to do every single thing. So thank you, Heidi. And she's color coordinated too, so it's great. All right, y'all. So we can take that slide down just so that we can see each other in the map, in the grid kind of a way. And I'm just going to open it up for us to be able to share. So I'll model it just to begin with. And then if you feel so moved, you can put yourself on camera for a moment, give us a bit of a movement, and we will mirror it back to you muted. So I'll start. I'm going to do it based upon my mood. Feeling pretty jazzed today. So I'm going to say Stacy with jazz hands. So then you all just repeat that back. Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna ping pong it. So let's just popcorn it. Whoever just wants to jump in next, jump in.
Maria.
Maria. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you.
All right. Whoever's next?
Megan.
Megan. Oh, everybody's got jazz
Hi,
hands
Megan.
today.
Hi. I'm in my car, so I'm gonna mute again.
Okay. Welcome, Megan.
I was in your
Thank you.
car.
I'm gonna go Allie.
Allie. Welcome, Allie.
Christy.
I
Hello,
don't know if I'm
everyone.
here.
Sometimes that happens. Okay, go ahead, Christine.
Christine.
Christine. All right, Marta, was that you?
Hello, I'm Marta from Portugal.
Hola, Marta. Tudo bem? Eu falo português brasileiro.
Olá, tudo bem?
Pouco diferente, eh?
Sim, pouquinho.
Yeah. Welcome.
Obrigada.
Anyone else? Nikki, was that you? Oh, hi, Laura. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Nikki.
Hey, Nikki. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Megan.
Hi, Megan.
Hey, Megan.
Welcome. We can't hear you, Shara. I can see you doing something, but we can't hear you. All right. Anybody
I'm
else wanna
Bridget.
come? Hi, Bridget.
B-R-I-D-G-E-T.
Oh, thanks, Bridget. Hi, welcome.
I'm Jacquees.
Jacquees, welcome,
Hi,
Jacquees.
I'm Tawny.
Hi, Tawny. Welcome,
Hi,
Tawny.
Tawny.
Anybody else want to say hello?
I have a question.
Yes, what's your question?
In the warm-up, that you did, I see my garden grow. Was that supposed to be a call and response?
If you wanted it to be,
Okay.
one of the
But
things
as a
that I mentioned.
facilitator, I need to know what it's supposed to be. So then if I use this program, then I sort of know what to do.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, let me expand. So I was kind of saying it in the group process. So I will clarify. So that particular that activity was meant to be a call and response. And what I also mentioned too was that you could also just choose to receive it, right? So it's not a thing where you have to sing it back. You do not have to vocalize, right? Because sometimes we're in a position where we just need to receive. Like some of you all right now may be here to receive, and you're not in a mood where you want to give anything back, right? So so that's why I always make all call and responses optional. So if you ever do this, facilitate it for yourself, yeah, that would be what I would say is just create it as an optional.
Optional. It's optional.
Yes.
That will be the word. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because I really, I have plans to continue.
Yes.
This is my first time, but I need to know what's going on. And I always ask questions. I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you did. And thank you for reminding me that some of you all are here to learn so that you can then teach it to facilitate. So I think that's a good moment to maybe just open it up and find out from you all what maybe your intentions are for being here. What drew you to the practice of today? And if there's anything in particular that you would like to learn or get from this. So we know, thank you now from Maria, that it's about receiving some tools that then can give to others. Anybody have any other particular intentions?
I'm the same way, but I have worked previously with adults, so I'm working with students now. So anything to get them engaged and open up, because they're all at like the young age of being like, oh, I don't know if I really want to talk to you. I don't know you. So when I start counseling off this way, they're more receptive and they're open. And then we have a good rapport from the beginning.
Totally. Yeah, that's super helpful. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joan, and I think you can hear me.
Yeah.
I also have an interest in sharing this with my community. It's actually an interfaith women's community. And during the pandemic, of course, everybody was isolated. So yeah, in terms of really the dance of connection, coming together, building community, creative connections through movement. My background is also dance and teaching, and I've certainly worked with this kind of material with students before. So really happy to be engaged again, although certainly in person is preferable to the Zoom
For sure.
experience, in terms of creating space.
That just sounds delightful, an interfaith women's community. Like it sounds like something I need in my life. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty wonderful.
Love it. Okay. And then we've got some things happening in the chat, tools for myself and to model in some spaces and to tap into my creativity. Great. Any other thoughts or intentions?
Sorry, I can't seem to get both to work at the same time. I'm Shara from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
Shara.
Practicing art therapist, still in the process of qualifying, work in a hospice environment. And myself as a practicing artist, music is always a source of inspiration and starting point. And working within the population that I work with, music is always an amazing memory tool, and the ability to build on top of that to create meaning-making experiences and legacy is always something of interest that I would love to share with fellow clinicians and other people within the hospice industry.
Wow.
Bridget here
Fantastic.
in LA. I'm interested in what the certification is. So this is the first time I'm dropping into anything that's UCLA Arts and Healing. And I'm building a clinic or designing a clinic focusing on actors who are mid to late career and ready to quit, calling it quits and going home, sleeping on their parents' couch kind of deal.
I would definitely resonate with that for sure. Yeah, I just finished doing Young Arts Week in Miami, where, and that's a beautiful organization that supports creatives from a very young age, from high school, and gives them creative support their entire lives so that they don't have to be in positions like I was in, similar, where it's like, okay, my art or my survival. So yeah, so Bridget, that's awesome. And I would love to talk to you some more about that afterwards, because I have specific focus on creatives and creative support for creatives. All right, so we got some other things going on here. Work online through Zoom with orphans in the Philippines with therapeutic art. So it's a great way to learn to work with them. Yeah, tools for use when I teach who are incarcerated. Amazing. Extra inspiration for a virtual cafe. I do that emphasizes self-care and mental wellness with the arts. Wow. And for my own enhancement. Y'all are amazing. Y'all are doing great things here. Martha says, I'm starting an art education project for children and believe that this workshop will allow me to enrich my practice as an educator. Fantastic. Wow, this is lovely. I'm so glad I asked, because I had a whole plan and I'm like moving it around in my head now. Because what's interesting is that oftentimes what the Hope series is, a lot of times people are coming, right, to get self-care tools for yourself. But what I'm loving is that you all are also interested in taking those tools and bringing them out into the world, right, which is beautiful. What I will also mention too is that Heidi will kind of come in towards the end and share a little bit about the certification process. And that's the social emotional learning, the SEA. There's a shoestring, and then there's a main program. And so that may be also something that you all would be interested in. So Heidi will share a little bit about that at the end. So because I'm a music psychotherapist, most of the work that I do is working with music modalities. And so the way I teach, particularly with UCLA and just in general, is exactly what someone mentioned, tools for myself and then to model in some places. And so our approach today is going to be to gain some tools for ourselves first, right? So you're going to be in an experiential practice together. We all will be. And then from that experience, the hope is that there will be some things that are embodied that you can then take and then actually practice in your own life with your own populations. So half experiential, right? And then how do I then take some of those tools and take them into the world? So we're going to work with two primary modalities within the music therapy structure. And there are two of my specific methods that I created that are rooted in music therapy theory. So the first one is going to be a mindfulness practice, which you saw in the description is a bit of a meditation, right? It's a guided practice. So I'll let you know right now that you'll have the experience for yourself, right, of what that is. And then we will talk at the end about how you can repurpose that and be able to use that in your populations, right? So it's not going to be me. So it's going to be me playing guitar, doing it live, right? But then we'll talk about how you can then take that. And it could just be something that you are able to experience, right? Because the idea is to get us grounded. So we'll talk about the adaptations part towards the end. The second thing we're going to do experientially is we're going to do something called the song tapestry. The song tapestry is also something that I created based upon a theory called unconscious song recall. And that is a music therapy theory that asserts that a song that pops into your head tends to be connected to the unconscious. So if you're walking down the street and you hear a song and you're like, oh, this song just popped in my head, what does that necessarily mean? Then if you pay attention to it and you start to unpack it, that it could be some link to your unconscious and something that is trying to be made conscious. So it's a very cool thing. I did this for years at my trauma center. And what's funny is I bet you some of you all had a song pop in your head when I said that. I see some Bridget, is that why you're smiling? Okay, if you feel comfortable, you can unmute yourself and totally like share, because I'm like, what just happened?
I've had a song my whole life. It's the one that comes into my head all the time. And it's If I Only Had a Brain from The Wizard of Oz.
Oh my goodness, that is so interesting. Wow. So yeah, so oftentimes it's a song that follows us, right? Or it could be a song that kind of pops in at a particular moment in our lives. And the idea is, you know, if we were to unpack that together, right, it may not be the part of If I Only Had a Brain. That's what's interesting. That's the hook. It could be something in the body of the song. It could be something in the lyrics. It could be the melody. It could be the harmony. It could be the bass line. There's some component to that song, right, that tends to be somehow linked into the unconscious. And because Western psychology is pretty much rooted in bringing what is in the unconscious into the conscious, right, then we use song tapestry as a way to mine the unconscious, to bring what is unknown into the known. So how does this work for kids? Incredible, right? Because if you work with teens, for example, and they're, resistant to sharing, or there's, again, someone mentioned earlier, that kind of like just the difficulty of how to start and how to establish that rapport. Well, tapping in through songs, right, is a great way, because that's kind of like the second language of teenagers, right? They speak a lot through music, and it's very validating. As it relates to working with people who are incarcerated, for example, I did a whole song tapestry workshop every week. It was a program that I implemented at the Alcoholism Center for Women. And every week there was a new theme, and we would create a song tapestry around that theme. And it gave them a voice. I mean, there's so many benefits to being able to tap into what people's songs are and what they're hearing. So we'll do a little bit of that today around this theme. So I think that's how we'll flow. We'll start with our kind of meditative practice, just so that we can ground out and get centered. And then we'll move right into creating that song tapestry. And then we'll have some time at the end to talk a little bit about like how to implement this in your circles. Does that make sense? Okay, good. I'm so glad I asked, because I changed things. That's great. I love the mutability of it all. Cindy said, we don't talk about Bruno from Encanto. Oh my goodness, that song, it's that one. And then there's another one from Encanto where it's the one where she's carrying everything on her shoulders. And she's the one that has to carry all of the weight on her shoulders. I forgot the actual name of it, but I was like, somebody wrote a song about me. How did they know? So yeah, songs are powerful archetypes. And we'll talk about archetypes too. So, all right, y'all, take a breath. All right, wonderful. So I think we've got another slide coming to introduce our meditative practice. The quote meditation, yes. So that is, there we go, great. So purpose, we already talked about it, is to recognize and dismantle limiting belief systems that unconsciously inhibit our growth. So those are kind of like the weeds. So limiting and debilitating belief systems can be born out of fear, survival, and trauma. They inform our reality completely, and they operate secretly in the subconscious, which is why the song tapestry method is great, because it'll help to bring out that. Perpetuating patterns oftentimes under the radar of our awareness. So essentially, they're the weeds in our garden. All right, nice. Next slide, please. So Ernest Holmes is an incredible author, teacher, and I read his work every morning in my practices, my spiritual practice. So this is one of my favorite ones. It says, just as you watch your garden, that foreign seeds shall not fall into it, producing a growth of undesirable plants. So you must refuse entrance to any thoughts you do not wish to see manifested in your life. So guard well this garden of your mind. It is the garden of your soul. It is the garden of Eden, wherein may grow your fondest desires and hopes, blossoming into fulfillment. Or if you permit, the weeds of destruction, fear, and doubt will choke out the beauty of hope until despair only remains. So watch carefully this garden of your soul, and plant there only seeds of happiness, of joy, peace, and of goodwill. So that is our quote that Ernest Holmes spoke into existence. And so I just want to kind of give you all an idea of why we're doing this meditation and why we're starting this way. One of my favorite quotes is by Albert Einstein. And he says, essentially, that there is no way that we can solve a problem on the same level of consciousness in which it was created. So in other words, if you have any kind of pathology going on, or any kind of maladaptive behavior, or as Ernest Holmes says, if there is something that's going on around destruction, fear, or doubt, doesn't it make sense to, instead of spinning in the mind about, oh, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? Or letting the mind do what it does, which is take you back into the past, which tends to live depression, or to take you into the future, where there tends to be anxiety. We're mostly ping-ponging like this, right? When we're in our daily life, many of us, and the people we work with. So we want to be able to bring our consciousness up a bit above the chatter, right? Above all of that noise. So that's why we're going to start with this grounding practice, this meditation, so to speak, just to get a little bit still and to notice what happens when all of that chatter in the mind begins to subside, right? So that's going to be our goal of starting this way. And again, we'll talk about how, how you can bring this into your daily practice and into your work. But for right now, this is for you. This is actually for you, right? So just find a comfortable spot. And yes, you're reminding me to read As a Man Thinketh for the 1,000th time. Yes, absolutely. There's certain things that are just classic, that just still resonate. So, all right. So this is our moment where we get a chance to just do as the slide says, sit back and relax. Turn on your audio, find a comfortable place. You can either be sitting on your with your feet on the floor, which is one of my preferred methods of doing this practice, mainly because it just allows me personally to feel a little more grounded. But whatever you prefer is fine. And then I'm just going to go ahead and turn off my camera for a moment, just so that you can not feel like you have to see me. And I'll probably have my eyes closed too. So, all right, so let's just take some breaths. And just begin to notice where your breath is. Oftentimes when we are in our heads, we don't even realize that sometimes we're either holding our breath or that the breath is somehow in the shoulders or in the chest, this kind of shallow breathing. So just notice your breath first and maybe bring it to a part of the body that feels abundant. I like to bring my breath into my core, into the solar plexus, maybe just pulling from what feels like an unlimited supply. So we just let our breath settle us in. Maybe send the breath somewhere where it needs a little bit of attention, maybe to the shoulders, maybe to the elbows. And then just find that comfortable place and space. This is a grounding practice, and so we're not going to be traveling anywhere. This is a trauma-informed practice focused on being embodied. So just begin to notice your connection to the earth. And so maybe that is the feet touching the ground, or maybe it's the chair holding you or the couch holding you. And so we just breathe as a community together into this feeling of being held by the earth. And maybe you can trace a line, an imaginary line, from the bottoms of the feet, sending it down into the center of the earth. And maybe even tracing a line from the root of the spine down into the center, the base of the spine, down into the center of the earth. And just watch that line begin to expand, maybe becoming roots at the base of the feet. Or maybe even the base of the spine, expanding and connecting to a beautiful redwood tree, or a beam of light, or a cascade of water, whatever element serves you, feels supportive to you now. And just breathe deeply as the body begins to ground. Maybe releasing something from the body that is feeling staticky, sticky, electric. anything that feels heavy, let it go through the feet. Let it release through the spine. And just notice how the earth is able to receive whatever you let go of and recycle it for something else that is supportive and enriching for you or for another creature, plant, tree. And breathe deeply, allowing your mind to just become even more still, maybe it being held by the melody of the guitar, or maybe even being held by your attention to the breath. So the goal here is not to stop the mind in any way. The goal here is not to be in resistance to any thoughts. The goal here is to simply begin to become still and notice what you notice. Notice the mind go by like clouds, the thoughts in the mind go by like clouds. And if there's any moment of distraction, we don't judge ourselves, we just bring our attention back to the breath, back to the melody. And we breathe. And with this next breath, we're going to just begin to bring our attention to the center of the mind. And we're just going to use our imagination and have some fun, letting go of the analyzer for a bit. And just begin to imagine that you're able to step right in a space or a room behind your eyes. I like to call this my perch. And this is where I get a chance to kind of flex my authority of being able to watch my thoughts and become this observer rather than being run by my thoughts. So just see that room behind your eyes, make it your own, just create a space. Watch it become illuminated. And there's an option here to also ground through the center of the mind the way we did through our feet and our spine. So maybe you find that chair or that cushion or that place to sit right in the center of your own consciousness. And breathe. And feel yourself becoming grounded and the mind grounding. Maybe able to let go of any debilitating thoughts, any judgmental ideas, any shoulds. Just begin to let that go now. And it's from this place of authority, this place of being the observer, where you get a chance to turn on your sight. And just begin to notice, are there any ideas? Are there any belief systems? Are there any kind of weeds that have been running rampant in your surface mind? We call these lies. They're not necessarily true, but they are very good at convincing us. So just notice what you notice. Notice a thought or a belief that you're ready to dispel of. And then as we did through the grounding cord and the feet being grounded, just give yourself permission to release that thought from the mind. Releasing it into the earth. other thoughts that are kind of going by like clouds? And just begin to flex a little bit more and begin to notice how there are some ideas that you can simply let go by. Notice how your attention gives these ideas more power. So just breathe and notice this. And with this next breath, we're going to begin to seal this practice. And we're going to bring forth just one more tool that you can use, and your clients can use. And this is what we call power color. So from this place of being grounded and being in the center of your own mind as observer, begin to notice if there's a color that presents itself to you that we call this power color. And this color is validating. It's a color that is strong enough to dispel anything that is not you and it is not of you. It should also feel comforting. So again, using our imagination as creatives, which we all are, begin to see that color emerge in your mind's eye. And then just allow it to move around the body, almost like a blanket, and just let this color help you release anything that feels stubborn. Notice how it's able to help you move things in the body. And just feel that color wrapping around you and ensconcing you, reminding you of your power. And breathe. And as you're working with that color, we're just going to begin to close this practice by balancing out the equation. We did a lot of releasing. So now we're going to give back to ourselves. We're going to create even more validation with one last visual, and that is of the golden sun, which is the visual cue, visual symbol for our own unique life force, our own unique essence. And so we just visualize a golden sun above our heads. Begin to see it filling, becoming brighter and brighter and brighter and more robust and full. And as it does so, it begins to overflow. And we're just going to allow ourselves to receive. And again, this golden sun represents your essence, and maybe you give it a magnetic quality and allow it to just call back your power, your energy from anywhere where it may be on the planet. And when that sun begins to become full to overflowing, imagine that you are able to open the crown of the head and just let that golden light fill it. Let it fill in every single cell, every single nook, every cranny, everywhere where you let something go. Begin to feel yourself being made whole, which, as we discussed in the beginning of the group, is your natural state of being. Breathe as you are able to feel the illumination, the regeneration of the body temple by the sheer expression of validation through the sun permeating through your body, moving from the feet into the ankles and shins and knees, going at your own pace. Begin to feel yourself embodied, more embodied than perhaps before this practice began. As that light fills in all areas of the body, begin to bring some slight movements to the fingers. Maybe bringing some movements to the toes, some meditations say come back into the room, but again, we're not going anywhere. This is about becoming more aware of our bodies, deepening our connection. So maybe those little light kind of rolls of the wrists and ankles and neck become maybe longer stretches. Just begin to notice that feeling of that golden light now settling in. And when you feel ready, you can begin to stretch and maybe open your eyes. And we're going to maintain this state of stillness and this consciousness as we begin to open it up and share a little bit. Sharing is optional. You're being recorded, so any observations are welcome. Take a breath. Congratulate yourself for your willingness to commune with the divine within you. And when you're ready, we can do cameras back on. Yay. Nice. Welcome back, everyone. I hope that was supportive practice for you all. Like I said, you all are going to get a worksheet later. And I just wanted to open it up if anybody wanted to share anything about what you noticed, if there were any thoughts or belief systems that appeared to you, and maybe just if this was a practice that was supportive in finding that bridge to self, right? Which is the whole title of this workshop, you know. A transcript. Oh yeah, well, I'll see if I can get one made because that was total stream of consciousness. But I will share some resources at the end where you can get a script. I have a grounding script as part of my offering. So good question. Attention gives ideas more power. Oh my goodness, that's one of my favorite things. Thank you for bringing that forward, Jaquise. I have something that I talk to my clients about when I do mindfulness practices like this, and what we say is that energy flows where attention goes. I heard that once. And the way I've kind of repurposed that is as attention as currency, right? So if your attention was currency, what would you pay attention to, right? What would you pay attention to? And the thing that's so interesting is that there are a lot of big companies and corporations, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, that are vying for our attention, right? I mean, they're vying for it all the time. And so social media, et cetera, is one of the examples of that. So what we just did was we practiced by putting ourselves in the center of our own minds, how we can begin to gain dominion over what we choose to pay attention to. And that's very, very empowering when you consider that you can actually choose, right, where you let your, and I think most meditations focus on trying to control your thoughts or stop thinking. And it's like, no, it's not about that. It's about, for me personally, what's more helpful for me is beginning to notice what I'm thinking about and then beginning to investigate, is that really true, right? And if it's not true, then I can place my attention on something else, right? What were you going to say, Shauna? Feel free to jump in.
Actually, I think you kind of just touched on what I was going to comment. I do a lot of meditation, and I think I oftentimes, and I also live with anxiety, so I'm oftentimes trying to get away from the anxiety as opposed to grounding into myself. And it was really interesting when we were ending this and you said something to the effect of, we're not coming back into the room, we're remaining within ourselves. I thought it was really, I opened my eyes, but also kept the inner feelings going. And I felt such a deep sense of grounding. And I was like, oh, this is something I've been missing. I've been definitely trying to fly away from things as opposed to really grounding and experiencing the true feelings, and then allowing myself to remain in that body as I move through the earth.
Thank you so much for that insight and that reflection. And I think it's such an important one, because when we think about anxiety, for example, I like to think of it as electricity, and anxiety essentially is like lightning in a bottle when it's in the body. And what is lightning always seeking? The lightning is always seeking the ground, right? You see a lightning bolt, and it's always trying to go down, and it's trying to hit the earth. So wouldn't it make sense, is what I was thinking to myself when I use this with trauma, that wouldn't it make sense to ground that energy? So like you said so eloquently, actually sending the energy down into the earth, which is where it's trying to go, which is why so much of what we did in the beginning was about like the focus of like, okay, I'm being supported through the earth. And the other thing I wanted to bring to you all's attention too is that we grounded through the feet, right? Then we also grounded through the spine. And then we also went into the center of the mind and then grounded through the center of the mind. So those were 3 levels of grounding. And you can at any point choose to maybe just ground lightly through the feet. It's trauma informed because we give ourselves the option of how deep we want to go into the body, right? Sometimes it's not comfortable to be in the body so deeply. So maybe in those moments, you just ground through your feet and you feel the roots, right? So yeah, thank you for bringing that. And I wanted to.
Yeah, I really go with that, because what happened to me, it's I really got into thinking that I practice this with my students, but I have forgotten to practice it for me. And the deeper I got into the meditation, the more the thought came out, like, why not? And, it's always the question, and we have to find the answer.
Yeah. Great awareness, Maria. Such great awareness. Thank you for sharing that. And that's why in the beginning, I was like, this is for y'all. Like we'll talk about towards the end how to implement this, but I'm so glad you let yourself have this for yourself, because it's so important for those of us who give and teach to be able to have this for ourselves, right? To have the experience. Yeah. Wonderful. Millie said I spaced out a lot, but as my mind has been loud lately, mine too, but I still found it restorative when I can be present. Yes. Yeah. Grateful that you were able to find those moments. Ali said my body feels relaxed, but my mind gets distracted. I want to forget everything for the moment. Yeah, the mind is the mind. I don't know if you all remembered in the beginning where I said that the mind does the ping pong ball, right? So I always picture myself as a ping pong ball, and my mind is either pinging me in the past where I'm spiraling and ruminating on what could have been, and that makes me feel depressed, or it's spinning me in the future where I'm going, oh my God, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to pay this bill? What's going to happen tomorrow? And that's anxiety. So ping, 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 ping pong. So the practice that we just did was just that, a practice. If you got one moment where you felt free from the tyranny of that ping pong game, then that's beautiful, right? And we practice it just like we practice yoga or anything else. So meditation is not about perfectionism. And I'm saying that as a recovering perfectionist, that this is not one thing that I have figured out how to be perfect at, which is good. Which is good. Any other thoughts? Reflections, questions? Joan, are you sharing? Because you're muted. Let me see if I can do it on my side.
Okay, sorry, there we are.
Yay.
So as I mentioned, Interfaith Spiritual Group, well, Hildegard is an ancient mystic and from the 12th century. And she talks, there's this whole concept of health called dariditas, really the idea of weeding and curating your thoughts, very much part of that. health being that we are like a garden, really. So I sort of connected that today with what you were sharing.
Oh, wonderful.
Made that connection. Yeah.
Yeah.
That we need to weed out, right? I mean, just like you think of weeding out your weeds in the garden, but your thoughts certainly. And from which end up, in terms of health, it's very related as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that resonated. I
Mm.
resonate deeply with nature metaphors.
Mm-hmm.
To your point of the interfaith, I think one of the beautiful things
Mhm.
about interfaith, right, is that it goes beyond dogma. It's
Mhm.
trans-dogmatic, right? So
Mm.
we tune into those connecting factors, and
Mhm.
nature I think, is something that we can all feel like we can connect to. It's accessible,
Absolutely.
right? And the cycles
Yeah.
of nature.
Mm.
Oftentimes, I was actually reading a book today that was encouraging me to study ecology,
Mhm.
because the study of ecology and how creatures rely on resources naturally would be helpful for me, because as a human, oftentimes there's a lot of resistance and force and trying to get and pound the pavement and grit and grinding. And so I'm working on stepping more into this flow of what we're talking about, of just knowing that it's already there and just lining myself up to receive it, right? Which is what the creatures and animals, a lot of creatures in nature, that's what they do. Some of them go out and hunt, as I saw in Safari once. But yeah, that natural state of being. Yeah. So thank you for that, Joan. I'm glad that's come to you in another way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a hard time choosing just one color, though.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned the colors. Yeah. What did you see?
Well, I had about 3 of them, but they kind of over the time that I was working with. Yeah, nice. For different reasons.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So a quick note about the colors, you all, for people who want to facilitate this. Colors are visual cues, right? So that's how we're using it in this way. It's very hard, if impossible, to see emotion. So colors are ways that we can begin to visualize our feelings and visualize kind of the energy around emotions. So the power color it serves a number of purposes. The way we used it today was to be able to at first just notice it as another way to validate ourselves. Like, by the way, this is not prescriptive, right? So a lot of times we hear color, we'll say, oh, yellow means happy, purple means calm, blue means peace. And so that's not how I'm using it in this way. I'm using it as a tool for you or your clients to be able to tune into what colors are validating for them in the moment, right? And it can be more than one. And that's just another visual tool. And it's also a way to seal in, so to speak, a state of being. So if you grounded and you felt yourself connecting to the earth and you had this beautiful 15-minute practice, and then it just seems like you had a dream and it's gone, right? So the color helps you to really hold the feeling tone of what you experienced. And so if you saw a daffodil yellow, for example, and you can be that specific, because like Fiji blue isn't the same thing as like Big Sur blue, right? Those are 2 different blues. So you can be very specific with the color schemes. So if you see a color that validates you in your practice, for example, and then let's just say you walk out the door and someone cuts you off on the 405 and then boom, you're ungrounded. What would happen if you were to be able to bring that color back in to re-regulate your nervous system? Right? So it's a visual tool to help you to regulate your nervous system. And as creatives, I'm sure this is not rocket science, right? Because art therapy, music therapy, a lot of these, we know that colors do help us to emotionally regulate. So that's why we work with that color. So thank you for reminding me of that, Joan, that was a big part of what we practiced today. Yeah. Megan said, I love the visual towards the end of the meditation of a color. Oh, here we go, color again. Yes, it represents us and surrounding ourselves using this color almost like a blanket. Yes, that's the blanket. I felt held, safe, and it reminded me of the care I need to give to myself to restore my power. Beautiful, Megan. I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah. And isn't it empowering to like be able to know that like you can use your own tools to bring your body and your nervous system back into a state of being regulated? Like that's a really powerful thing. I mean, I feel like out of all the things I've learned, I really appreciate those kinds of tools because I'm not dependent upon things externally. So that's a good segue into our next thing. But a lot of times when I worked with people, I've done a lot of work in addiction treatment. And I find that many people who are getting substance abuse treatment are very highly sensitive people who did not have the tools to self-regulate and began to self-medicate as a result of that, right? That's the majority of in a nutshell, right? Some of those people were even empathic people who absorbed the dysfunction in their family, right? And the pain of that, holding all of that. So these tools of grounding, releasing what's not yours, right? Being in the center of your head, watching your thoughts. What are you paying attention to, right? Bringing in colors that validate you. These are incredible preventive tools because it makes it so that you are less likely to reach outside of yourself for something to self-medicate because you can self-regulate, right? So that's something that you can take into your communities and into your classes and your groups, are these key tools of grounding, self-validation through the golden sun, right? And self-regulation through colors. Those are 3 key tools. And you don't need my guitar meditation to do that, although I'll give you the resources, but you can do this. You can lead this with your own scripts. You can use the script that I'm going to share with you all. And you can also do beautiful binaural beats, so much stuff on YouTube that you can use as background music while you work with these tools. Yes, I would absolutely repeat those things. So the first one would be grounding. So that's any kind of grounding practice. And I would say that would be what you could use with your students and your clients. The one we did today worked with the 3 levels of grounding. That was grounding through the feet, grounding through the spine, or grounding through the mind. You could do all 3 or choose one. That's the root of everything, is grounding. And then self-validation, which is how we use the golden sun, right? To bring in that golden sun, see it filling in all the places where you released and let go of something. And then the third piece is finding a power color that will help you self-regulate. And those are the 3 main tenets. You'll have a worksheet that you'll get after this too. Wonderful. All right, everybody, we'll take a breath. I want to show you all one more tool before we wrap up. I mentioned earlier the idea of a song tapestry. And the song tapestry is really, really cool because what it does is it allows us to be able to bring forward the unconscious material, as we discussed, right? What's hanging out in the unconscious mind. And when you work with groups and you work with people one-on-one as well, one of the really cool things to do is to create what will present as a playlist, but it's a bit more than a playlist because it's not anything that you're crafting in the conscious moment. It's more of what's coming up in the unconscious. So for example, let's do it right now. And then you all are get a list of these songs. So since we're all in this grounded, meditated state, begin to tune in and just begin to think of what is the first song that pops into your head when you consider your own personal truth. What is true for you? Who are you really? What is the song that validates who you are, the truth of you? You don't require a song encyclopedia for this. Just let that bubble into your consciousness. What is that piece? Is it a lyric? Is it a chorus? Is it a horn section? Is it a riff? The song that validates you in this moment, the truth of who you are. And you don't even need to know what that is, but maybe the song will give you a hint. Then whenever you feel or hear that song, just drop it in the chat and we're going to play one of them. So spoiler alert, this is much more fun when you just go with the first song and you don't let your brain try and analyze. Because your brain might be like, why did you pick that song? What does that song mean? And that's just the brain chattering, you know. So just go with it. No judgment. A song that validates who you are and the truth of who you are in this moment. Yeah, beautiful. Keep them coming. And we'll be copying the chat and putting these songs into a list that you all get so that we'll all have a, maybe you can create your own song tapestry. And we're going to call these songs of truth. And this is on your worksheet too. We're just going to do a little of it right now. So if this was a group, for example, we would be gathering these together, and then I would play them and do lyric sheets for each one, maybe put it up on the screen. If we're in person, we would play them as a group and then share our insights about, why do you think this song popped into your head? What do you think this song means? Is there a message in this song to validate you in some way, right? Those are the kinds of questions we would ask. Nice. Yeah, that's Bill Withers. And I appreciate you saying that, Megan, too, because sometimes a little segment will just pop in, and whatever that little segment is, it's like, we just, you know, sometimes as a music therapist, I just kind of have to scramble and just use Google to like type in a lyric and it'll show it, right? So whole complete songs are not necessary. All right, so let me just do the hard thing of choosing one of these. And just to give you all an example. So of course, we would normally have enough time to play all of these, or at least excerpts of all of these. And in the SEA program, the shoestring one, maybe it's the actual SEA program, we do something similar to this, and we do play all of the songs, kind of a montage. All right. So we're just gonna listen. We're gonna listen. I just picked one randomly, and we're gonna listen. And if it just happens to be your song, what you're listening for is just noticing what you notice, right? What part is this? Maybe what's validating for you, and then we'll all share a little bit. All right, y'all. Here we go. All right, that was Fiona Apple Paper Bag. Oh, I sound like a DJ. That was Fiona Apple Paper Bags. Thank you so much for that, Bridget. I just picked it randomly. So just to give you all an idea of what it's like to listen to a song as a group, particularly one that's personal that someone chose. And so I'm just going to throw the lyrics up there for a brief moment so we can kind of have a look-see. And this, you know, the sharing of lyrics is optional when you facilitate this. I think sometimes it gives you a little bit of an insight of at least letting people know beforehand that you're going to share the lyrics so that they don't have to try and listen hard to the lyrics while it's playing, right? So then they can just have the experience of listening, and then the lyrics come after to kind of fill in the blanks and answer any questions. So yeah, with that said, Bridget, if you don't mind sharing, just the process of maybe the song popping in your head, and if it was a surprise to you, you know, that it popped in, or just what that was like for you.
I was definitely searching for a lyric. You know, I was doing the work. I wasn't just letting it come to me, which is pretty, pretty normal for me. You know what? I started it from the beginning in my head, but I wasn't sure where that verse fell. I was staring at the sky, which is kind of cool to see. I thought I was missing something. And yeah, this song too has been on playing in my head for a very long time. And I think it reminds me of the past. And any boyfriend I had, I would sing this song in my head about, you know, or anybody that broke my heart, because I would go crazy afterwards, I guess, or at least I thought. And now that challenge is still there. Everything that she's saying, yeah, looking for the strand to climb, all that stuff is still there. The hunger hurts, but now it's definitely with me and inside of myself. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah. Lovely, lovely. I mean, and and you answered the question already, but if you all were facilitating this, you would ask, like, what is the lyric that kind of stands out the most, right? And what is that? How does that impact you, or how does that validate who you are today? And again, if the themes were different, then you would ask different questions. The synthesis is about songs of truth and a song to self-validate, then it would definitely be questions focused on how that's validating for you. And so thank you for modeling that and for being the guinea pig, so that we could see how that works and how you were able to build that bridge from who you were before to who you are today. Because I mean, just as a group, you all, just to kind of ask that question, you all notice how songs can shapeshift. Right. So a song that means something for you when you were 16, listening to it now, it may mean something different. And you may even hear a song shapeshift to the point where you're like, I didn't even know that song was saying that. Right. Where you find it a lyric and like, oh my gosh, like then it lands in a whole nother way, So this is why we treat songs as archetypes, right? As ways to unlock hidden doors in the unconscious. So thank you, Bridget. Let's give Bridget a hand. Give Fiona an apple a hand. All right, let me stop sharing this and let's open it up. Any insights, reflections from anyone else?
Shara here in Hamilton.
Hi, Shara.
I would have to say, sorry, between my camera and children wandering in and out of the background after school snacking, you don't want to see that. So it's just easier to just have vocals. I apologize.
It sounds really adorable though.
I do find myself that one's day's experiences or journeys determines the music you play. And I find sometimes even just my morning commute before I get to work I'm not someone that can work in silence. Coming from an art background and now working in a medical facility, I can't stand silence. I have a wireless speaker and my coworkers are forced to listen to murmurings of my music. And I find sometimes that just one's mood can determine what musical choices you're going to make for the day, which then kind of directs the journey that your day is going to be. Like one thing that, like you were saying, going back to history and present, I don't know why, but there's something about Motown that going to university in Windsor and living across from Detroit, the appreciation I developed for Motown music that I previously didn't have. And now whenever I hear, and I still regularly listen to oldies station as a grounding point, as a point to bring me back to, you were just discovering who you were as an artist and what you wanted to do then, and this music played a role. So bring yourself back to that. And it also brings you back to the music your parents played growing up as well. And there's something grounding about how that music can follow you through stages of your life and still be that grounding point, even though you yourself have changed incredibly within the journey.
Oh, so beautifully said. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it just you just really highlighted the magical feeling and the magical nature of songs and how they can really be containers for us and grounding forces. So thank you for that. Thank you for your words.
Thank you for having me. This has been a blessing and I'm very grateful to be here.
Yay. Me too. All right, so you all got that second modality now, a second intervention, so to speak, not to sound so clinical, but this is something that you all can definitely bring into your practices for yourself. I create song tapestries for me. You know, like if there's something that I'm wanting to, I heard a spiritual teacher say once, take an apprenticeship to, right? I want to, something that maybe I feel like I'm lacking or something that feels like it's scarce in the moment, then I would do a song tapestry for that thing for myself, right? So back in my probably maybe like 15 to 20 years ago, my big theme was abandonment. That was what I was healing. So in that case, I would gravitate towards songs of connection, songs of safety, right? So then you do the same thing for yourself, right? What are the first songs that come to mind that remind me of connection? What are the songs that come to mind that remind me of safety or that evoke a sense of safety? You could do power songs, like we did power colors. You could accompany that practice with a power song. What's a song that that really empowers you, that reminds you of who you are? So this is infinite with your themes. You can take all the themes from your lesson plans and from the content you already are working with and repurpose it into this intervention. And it's really cool, The only other thing I want to add is that when you do it, just, put some protocols in place, do a little bit of trigger warnings, make a decision if you want to censor, if you want to ask people to only share songs that don't have profanity, or if you're going to leave it open for sharing, which I tend to like to do if I'm not working within an institution that bars it. I will do a disclaimer at the beginning of the group and say, when we're getting ready to listen to some songs, they are unconsciously in the moment songs, which means that none of us can control what songs are going to get played. So let's begin to notice our bodies, pay attention to any signals. If you start to feel triggered, the good news is that a song will tell you in the first 10 seconds whether you're triggered or not. You do not have to let that song go all the way. You'll know. Then immediately turn off the song, step away from the computer, take the headphones off, leave the room, give me a sign. You determine what the fail-safes are, but you let them know that they don't need to ever sit through anything that is discomforting in any way, right? Because songs can be really triggering. So that's the only caveat to this, I think, to just remember, is that songs are magical and they're powerful, and then they have the ability to transport us, like probably only parallel to smell. You smell a Chanel No. 5 and you remember your grandmother, you hear a song and you're right back in that moment. So we just want to respect that and honor the power of music in that way. All right, y'all, right, take a breath. We're getting towards the end. We've got about 35 minutes. I can stay over if we're going to do longer, but any questions about anything we've gone through today? Any questions about anything that we have explored? The floor is open. Oh, by the way, Shara, anything by Annie DeFranco, for reals. Yeah, thank you for that. 32 flavors.
Finally came to Toronto for the first time, and I don't even know how long since pre-pandemic. And I saw her in November, and it was my 17-year-old self and my 43-year-old body, just the most gratified, excited human being on the face of the earth.
Oh my goodness gracious. Sounds amazing. Oh. And she's got this brand new album with a song called Revolutionary Love on it that I just am absolutely in love with. So she came back with a punch,
Did.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you all, Heidi was kind enough to put in the playlist link for all the songs that didn't get played today. So while we were over here chatting and having fun, Heidi was hustling and putting together a Spotify playlist. So thank you for that, Heidi. That was good looking. And while we wrap up, I just want to also let you all know that I do have a book that this is an excerpt from. So there's a forthcoming book that I'm beginning to pre-sell. So if you're interested in that, please drop in your email address. You'll also get a follow-up email from UCLA, which will have a link where you can sign up for my newsletter, which will also give you updates. There is a program that will be available February the 1st, which has a grounding script as a part of it. It's called ACE. It's a whole mindfulness practice, which you can use for yourself, as well as with your students and with your clients. So you'll get some more information about that as well. So just wanted to let you all know that before we get to the end. And it's just been such a pleasure. Thank you all for being so open. Thank you for telling me what you need. like, because I was really able to shift gears and just meet you where you were. So thank you for being so clear. And I really hope this was helpful. So yeah, add your email address if you want more info on the workbook. It's basically a map to self-love, because I think self-love is elusive, by the way, and I never know. I thought I was doing it all this time, and then turns out I wasn't. So I think it's important to have that clear map of like, okay, what am I actually doing to give to myself? How am I, loving myself? And most of the time, I feel like for me, it's been helpful for it to be devotional, a self-devotional practice. So I'm going to just ask for one more round of applause for you all, because showing up today was a self-devotional practice. That is you loving yourself, showing up today. So one more round of applause for y'all. Wonderful. All right.
I'm sorry. I just want to know more about your music.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So I am going to be releasing some new material soon. If you give me your email address, I'll send you some more information about that. I also have some videos up on YouTube. A lot of stuff from when I do solo work with the Agape International Choir, if you all know about Agape here in Los Angeles, and just a few more things. And then I can also send you some songs and stuff. So I appreciate you asking about that. It's been a very interesting journey of balancing being a performer with, I'm sure I'm not the only person who does this, right? You're the creative performer self, and then you got a company, or then you're also a therapist, So thank you for asking me about that. And I'll definitely send you some information if you drop your email in there. Oh, I see it.
Want to thank you, Stacy. So gratitude for leading us through this session, especially just such an amazing way to start 2023. So thanks to all of you for spending part of your day with us. We do have some upcoming trainings listed on the slide. That social emotional arts on a shoestring that Stacy mentioned is just a great, it's like a snack, a C snack. So it's a really easy way to get an idea of the full certificate program, which is also open for application. We have a module starting a little later. So if you would like more information on that, all of the information is on our website on the programs link. I did put the survey link in the chat as well. Please take the survey. We really appreciate your feedback. It also helps us inform the rest of Hope for 2023. So this is a monthly free series. If this is the first time you've joined us for Hope, and we look forward to seeing you at future workshops. Each month is a different facilitator, a different expressive arts approach, all rooted in self-care, stress reduction, resilience, but also providing tools that you can take with you as well. So again, thank you for being here. We really hope you have a wonderful weekend. And I think, as Stacy mentioned, she's happy to stay on for a couple more minutes, and I'll stay on as well.
Yay. Yes, I will be here if anybody has any questions I can answer. And thank you all so much for coming again. This was really, really awesome.
Hi.
Hi.
You mentioned earlier that you were trying to save the transcripts. Will you be emailing it to us, or?
So what I'm going to do, so the ground, you're talking about the grounding, right? The grounding transcript. Okay. Yeah. So the actual one that we did today was stream of consciousness. So there aren't any transcripts for the one today. However, this is a YouTube video, right? So this is going to be posted. So you'll be able to go to that point and just listen to it and have that experience. So that's something that's great. The other thing is that I have a program which has a grounding script within it that you can customize and make your own. And that's what you'll be getting more information about in the follow-up email for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I'm on my phone and I'd go to press chat and I'd get kicked out and then I'd come back in. So
no.
Yes. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Email. Thank you. And it was a very, very nice presentation. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yay. Thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I had fun.
Yeah, thank you so much. When you mentioned the grounding and releasing, letting go, and then the golden light, and I thought about, I'm working with somebody who maybe has some anxiety around letting go of things and maybe some hoarding going on. And so it just really occurred to me how, when we hold on to things, and then how we could replace that with some light energy and some, I'd like to kind of explore more of that, because I think there is a lot of people, and working with seniors as well, people trauma, we hold on to things, but why are we holding on? And then you end up with clutter and mess, and you can't move forward, and it's just, feels kind of suffocating.
Yeah.
So how this kind of work could help replace some of that stuck energy with something more life-giving.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And the thing that also makes it a little bit tricky too, Joan, is sometimes we don't even know that we're holding on to a lot of that stuff, right? So it's unconscious, and it begins to kind of mimic our own emotions. So we just assume, right, a lot of times that, oh, I'm just tired because I'm tired, but it's like, no, you're tired because you're carrying your mother's pain, or, or your father's, dashed hopes, or your sister's, so it's a lot of this is unconscious.
Absolutely.
So that's the beauty of the grounding practice, because you begin to get into the habit of letting go, and the body just naturally releases like it does physically, so I think this will be great for you to utilize in those practices with that population for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts or questions?
Lots of good stuff.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much.
Right, thank you.
I appreciate it. You'll get a follow-up email with all my contact information. If you have any other questions that pop up, feel free to email me, and I'll put that in. Well, actually, it'll all be in the follow-up.
Thank you, Stacy. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you all.
Thanks. Have a great.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.